Howdy folks, welcome to the channel, Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. I've got a gift request from Raymond Rice. Raymond, thank you for this gift and the request, my friend. And anytime I see your name, you've made a couple of gifts to the channel before, and whenever I see your name, of course, I'm a Rutgers guy. And 15 years ago, Ray Rice was he was probably the best running back that we had in Rutgers history. And it's absolutely phenomenal, went to the NFL, the whole 9 yards. But all that said, the R is not for Ray Rice, but it could be for you, Raymond. But it's Steve Wariner's song, Two Teardrops. And I did this one a while ago. And I remember the plot line to it, I think. But I hear so many songs, and they're virtually all of them for the first time, that they don't necessarily have the stickiness, as Tversky and Kahneman might call it, to stay in there. You need like repetition for things to stay in there, and context and all that. But we're going to see how well I know and remember this song. And assuming I rated the prior one, which I probably did, it was only like in the first, I don't want to say, few months of the channel. I don't think I was rating the songs, but then I started to. So we're going to find out what I even rated this one and if I'm consistent. I don't know how long ago it was, but I think it was a couple years ago. Steve Wariner's Two Teardrops.
Two teardrops were floating down the river. One teardrop said to the other, I'm from the soft blue eyes of a woman in love. I'm a tear of joy she couldn't carry. She was so happy she'd just gotten married. I was on her cheek when she wiped me away with her glove.
Tears of joy.
I could tell from the look on her face she didn't need me. So I drifted on down and caught me a ride to the sea. The other tear said we've got a connection. I'm a tear of sorrow born of rejection. I'm from the sad brown eyes of her old flame.
Oh, now I remember. This is my story 20 years ago. She didn't get remarried as far as I know. But this was my story. Absolutely on the note. I got to see where he goes with it too, how he develops it. But I never did find out why she left. It's that simple. So it's like, yeah, you're born of rejection, but in my case, I didn't know. Maybe this guy did.
She told him they would be lifelong companions. Left him with questions and not any answers. I was on his cheek as he stood there calling her name.
Oh, it sucks.
I could tell he had a lot of my friends for company. So I drifted on down and caught me a ride to the sea.
Alright.
Oh, the ocean's a little bit bigger tonight. Two more teardrops, somebody cried. One of them happy and one of them bluer than blue. The tide goes out and the tide comes in, and someday there'll be teardrops again, released in a moment of pleasure or a moment of pain.
You know, the salt content in happy tears versus sad tears is different. I forget which one is saltier. I will assume that the one where you're crying tears of sadness might be, because those tend to be really deep, like intense. But when you're really happy, it's pretty intense too. Just different chemicals released in your brain and body, I suppose.
Then they drift on down and ride to the sea again.
Sounds like Vince Gill a little
Last
bit.
night I sat in the waiting room. The nurse walked in and gave me the news. It's a baby girl and they're both fine. An old man sitting not 10 feet away just lost his wife, and he said to me, you've got a brand new angel and I've lost mine.
Damn, forgot about this.
Guess the good Lord giveth and the good Lord taketh away. And we both wiped a teardrop from our face.
Oh boy.
Oh, the ocean's a little bit bigger tonight. 2 more teardrops, somebody crying. One of them happy and one of them bluer than blue. The tide goes out and the tide comes in. A whole new circle of life begins, where tears are a part of the pleasure and part of the pain, till they drift on down and ride to the sea again.
No way of putting it.
2 teardrops floating down the river. 2 teardrops. 2 teardrops floating down the river.
Like the taste. Whenever they do piano in a song this early, it's gonna be poignant, and this was. I mean, this is just life, and what a way of depicting it. Just the songwriter or writers in this, the 2 different types of tears, but how do you even flesh that out? You know, when you're going to start to write a song, you get the idea of 2 tears. One's happy, one's sad. But then what do you do with it from there? Then certain people just have this way of bringing in the different components that they've observed in life. This concept of 2 tears, bringing it down to earth, so to speak, so you can relate to it. But then analogizing it to the ocean, waves coming in, waves going out, and that's life. The whole, like, not just the vicissitudes or the difference, let's say, between somebody who got dumped by a woman and now she's getting married, or just got married to someone else, and he's left with questions. But then he eventually goes on to find somebody. He gives birth, but the other dude in the room there, presumably at the hospital, the older gentleman had just lost his wife. And that's the ebb and flow of life, birth, death. But in between, we have joy and sadness, the partial death, partial birth. And it just what a way of depicting. And then the tears join up. And of course, I love science. I love contemplate. I mean, my other channel, The Agnostic Philosopher, where I look at theological topics, scientific topics, physics, all this stuff. But the idea that, like, the amount of matter in the universe doesn't change. And they may find that that's not correct. Maybe matter is coming into existence ex nihilo. But as far as the water on planet Earth, I mean, it evaporates, goes into clouds, comes back down, waters the plants decay, go in the ground. And then the amount of matter on planet Earth is theorized doesn't change, as far as I know, unless some of it is escaping into outer space. But Earth's gravity keeps most of it here. And if that's representative of the sadness and joy, it's like, what a way of viewing it. And it is salt water. The ocean obviously is salt water. And then if you have a boat on a river, as I did, it was brackish water. It was 4 miles upriver from the ocean on the Manasquan, and all the variations in between. Then you've got freshwater boating on lakes and such. But I don't know what the equivalent would be of freshwater in the context of this song. It'd be maybe a fresh start. And so there are no happy tears, no sad tears. I don't know. There are just so many ways that you could go, but Steve sang it, and I'm glad I identified it. He reminds me of Vince Gill, and Vince is not the worst person to be compared to, even though Steve is his own artist and musician. But even the instrumentation in this, there was like a waterfall sounding or a watery sounding instrument in there. I forgot what you call it. The harmonies that were, the backing that was brought in were beautiful. It was female, which is appropriate for a song like this. It suggests unity or a newfound unity, which he had because he had a baby. So, all right, Raymond, what a good choice. Again, I had forgotten the depth of this song. All right, I got to rate this one. Yikes. All right, I'm going to go with the first number that popped into my head, and it was a 9.5. And the very next word that popped into my head was lyrics. And so I'm going with that. The lyrics in this thing were just mind-blowing. And it was really like the bass was underneath the instrumentation brilliantly. I loved the bass in this. And then the instrumentation was just there to support Steve to sing the song. And then Steve sang it to tell those lyrics. So it really was not to feature the vocalist, but to feature the story. So that bass was under it all until we got up here. Woo! All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Have a great day. See you on another video. Thanks again, Raymond, and keep rocking the country.